I created a commercial to be run as an ad with a one-person team. Here's how. The reality is that this was a spec project that I did for Garmin. I purposely used a minimal crew just to see if we can create something as massive as what you would get from a full production. And I'd say things turned out pretty well. The setup for this was pretty simple, and I actually had my talent help me out in a few different spots where we needed, but for the most part, it was solo dolo. So jumping right into the very first thing that we did is that we picked a location that had a really good aesthetic. Whenever you're trying to shoot any sort of commercial, whether it's for your brand or you're having somebody come in and film it, location scouting is extremely important. You need to know where you're filming because it's ultimately going to determine how the video is going to turn out. And it's going to convey a message throughout the video that we'll talk about in just a little bit. So we picked a local high school track near us that was open to the public at this time of day. And we just so happened to go at a time of day where there was practically no one there. This made the conditions perfect for the shoot because we got really great clips with no distractions, and it was pretty efficient. In all, this 45-second commercial shoot that we did took less than 2 total hours from start to finish. So after I did location scouting, I had to determine how I was going to manipulate the image to showcase both of my talents in the best light. So by this shoot being outside and in the middle of the day, it's a no-brainer to use the sun as my main key light. But the manipulation that I did to the sun's light in order to shine onto my subjects was even more simple, because really my initial plan was to use a bigger setup, but I found that with the simple small setup that we got everything that we needed. And that's a really cool and key takeaway, is that sometimes you don't need as big of a production as you think you might need in order to accomplish things. Now don't get me wrong, if you're a business owner or someone who's just getting started into things, don't think that less is always more. It's not all the time. Sometimes more is actually more. Like right now, you're probably assuming that in this video that you're watching of just me, that there's one light. The reality is there are 3 separate lights alone, plus a microphone out of screen that you guys don't even see. In addition to that, I'm using a second monitor just to be sure that I'm in focus. So, like I said, when it seems simple, because I'm one subject on one desk, less is not always more. Sometimes more really is what it actually is, more. But for this scene, all we used was my 5-in-1 reflector, and we used the translucent layer. This just allowed us to diffuse the sun. In layman's terms, it created a little more of a shadow. And because of that shadow, I was able to get really good exposure of the highlights, so the sky and anything else that was bright in the image, as well as I got really, really great skin tones throughout the entire thing. That's a really key takeaway. Whenever you're trying to make something look cinematic, make it stand out, if you have subjects, as in talent, people that are in the video, making sure that you nail their skin tone is something that is easy to mess up. And getting it right is something that takes time and precision most times. So with using this translucent layer that you guys can see right here, I was able to hover this over my talent at different times, and I actually got them to help me out as we switched back and forth. Like I said, the translucent layer acts a little bit like shade, and it just allowed for me to really focus in on the person's skin tone each time we were shooting a different subject. So the way that I check if my skin tones are in order when I'm filming anything is I use a feature on my external monitor that's called false color. So with false color, I can see the lightest and darkest parts of the image and how they'll ultimately look when I go to actually edit the video in post-production. Generally speaking, when you're looking at skin tones in false color, they lie in a certain range, and you want your skin tones to always be in that range. For most people who have more fair skin, technically you want them around 70 IRE, which is the measurement that we use to look at anything in an image to determine whether it's light or dark. But when you have a darker skin subject, you want them somewhere around 40 IRE. I know that's a pretty big swing where it's almost half of what you would usually expect, but when I actually go to shoot most any subject, I kind of expose for them on that lower end. I feel like it really makes things look punchy and more cinematic when I'm filming. So that was pretty much my basic setup for getting the majority of my shots. Now the second thing that I did that mattered a lot for this Garmin spec shoot was my selection of talent. So the 2 gentlemen that I use for talent are actually 2 buddies of mine. And they both are pretty in shape, both run pretty often, and do a lot of hybrid training. So that I knew that they would be perfect for this shoot, not only because of their skill set, but also because they have really great chemistry and a really great synergy that just lended towards one another. Everything flowed really well from the shoot. They were willing to help each other out extremely, and overall they differed in ways that complemented one another that just made everything seem seamless and easy. One of my talents had more of a long distance runner build, while the other one has a little bit more muscular of a build, and it just played off of one another really well to showcase that you can use this product in pretty much any scenario you can think of. The Garmin Fenix 7 Solar is a watch that can be used for pretty much anything. Now it is geared towards runners, but it can be used for all sorts of types of fitness, and it can track your metrics on whether you are doing HIIT workouts, long distance running, short sprints, or doing a mixture of it all. And that's exactly what this video showcased. It showcased two individuals going back and forth on a workout that was pretty intense, having fun while doing it, and letting their personality shine all the way through. And that's exactly what I wanted on this spec shoot. Now the last and probably most important thing of this entire shoot was color selection. Yes, I evaluated my talents' color selection as far as the outfits that they were wearing and overall where we were going to be shooting. So once I did my location scouting and we settled on the final destination, what we had to make sure after that was that we picked colors that would be really poppy on screen. I know this is going to sound crazy, but for you business owners out there, you're probably not thinking of this, but people actually stop scrolling when things have really bright and vibrant colors. Think about it. Anytime that you're on social media, it's either something that already piques your interest or something that's bright and vibrant that stops your scroll and makes you want to tune in for more. Maybe, of course, you have something like sound or another catchy hook that will capture you even more and make you want to watch more. But one of the first things that will attract your attention on any video right away is how colorful it is, or the way that the colors might be shifted that lend to an emotion that you might feel. So with this shoot, I wanted it to feel pretty light and airy, like it was a serious thing that they were doing as far as working out, but I wanted it to feel fun. I wanted it to feel realistic and like anybody could do it. So that's why we chose to really highlight the blues in the image a lot. And then we wanted it to feel kind of like an afternoon workout feel. So if you notice, there's kind of a greenish tint and more yellowish tint to the overall image to make it feel like this was taking place mid-afternoon. I just think that's one thing that we as humans, from seeing so many movies over time, gravitate towards and relate towards being late afternoon, is that the sky and the colors that you see during that time frame all are in that greenish yellowish tint. And therefore, that's exactly what we got out of this spec ad. Again, I just wanted to break down this cinematic spec ad shoot, what all went into it, and to give inspiration to those who want to shoot something like this. Maybe you've tried shooting something like this before, but you've not been able to really hone in on it, or you don't feel like it turned out the way you wanted it to. And so this might be why. Maybe you didn't do the proper location scouting. Maybe you didn't pick the right talent. Maybe you didn't really emphasize or have your editor emphasize the colors of that video in order to make somebody stop the scroll. That's okay. We live and we learn, and we're always growing. Even myself, this is, I don't know what number spec shoot that I've already done, but it's fun because I'm continuing to learn more and continuing to grow and further advance how I'm showcasing a product. I felt like this would turn out really well. Of course, I'm probably my biggest critic and I wanted even more out of it, but it's exciting and I'm excited to do more in the future. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Do you relate to some of the things that I mentioned? Have you ever tried those things? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.